morning, colleagues. I'm really pleased today to be chairing this first session, The Care We Want, Positively Reshaping the Market. I've got a fabulous group of colleagues that are here to spend 15 minutes reflecting on experience of COVID that we've been through this few months that's been very, very different, but also thinking about the future and thinking about what we've learned. So I'm hoping it's going to be a lively discussion and that we're all going to get a lot out of it. And please do ask questions. You'll see a link as the session moves on. You'll see a link that you can use to put your questions. Please be succinct and say who it is that's asking so that we all know who's taking part. So colleagues have been asked to think about what we've learned from COVID-19, what's happened to the social care market from their perspective, and then thinking about the future and what is it that we want to see and how can we be creative and innovative. And just to think about the short, the medium and the long term. And we all want to value and pay tribute to the fabulous work of workers in the care sector, the fabulous contribution of carers and of families that have all stood up and been counted in this national pandemic that we've been experiencing. So we're joined today by Caroline Speirs, who's the head of TLAP, and also Kate Sibthorp, who's a member of the National Co-Production Advisory Group. And they will talk about their lived experience. We're then going to hear from Kate Taroney, who I'm sure the conference will know as a former director in Oxfordshire, who's now the Chief Inspector of Adult Social Care, who will reflect on what CQC have learned and observed over this period. We'll then hand over to someone who's actually probably a seminar favourite, and that's Aileen Murphy, who will talk to us from her perspective in terms of the government's response to COVID-19 and the National Audit Office work looking at that. And I'm sure we can expect Aileen and Kate to be equally lively and challenging. And then last but not least, of course, is Michael Vosges. Many people know Michael as the Executive Director of ARCO, which is the Association of Retirement Community Operators, and also the immediate past chair of the Care Providers Alliance. So I'm sure that Michael will be talking to us about how care providers have experienced the COVID period and what their hopes are for the future. So again, if I can just remind colleagues, if you've got questions, as soon as you see the link, then please do pose them. So if I can hand over now to our first panellists, Caroline and Kate.
So hello everybody, my name is Caroline Speirs and I'm head of Think Local at Personal, and I'm delighted to be here today. And thank you for asking TLAP to talk about a subject that's absolutely central to our mission, the care we want. So this presentation is going to be a game of two halves. I'm up for the first half and I'm going to be setting out TLAP's broad view on this, on what we think needs to happen to ensure we get the care we want. And then I'm going to hand over to my colleague Kate Sibthorp, who will say much more about why this needs to happen. So I want to start by saying something about how TLAP works. TLAP is a partnership and very deliberately established as a partnership to bring together all those key voices, the providers, the commissioners and the people with lived experience. In other words, convening all the experts with insight and experience to help inform and influence and drive change. And this arrangement has challenge built into it. So, for example, working as a partnership gets us outside of the ivory tower that we are all guilty of inhabiting at times, writing our very pretty and lovely rhetoric. Partnership working can help collapse all of those deeply entrenched silos that behave like major roadblocks to progress. And genuine partnership working can help ensure we avoid those echo chambers that deny airtime to other expert voices. And the reason I'm mentioning this partnership approach is because I don't think it's possible to create the care people want unless you commit to working in this way. This is about creating the right conditions. So there is challenge built into the partnership, and that helps us challenge the status quo, and that's what we do quite a bit sometimes. We also support the development of solutions, and we work with partners to get under the skin of those wicked issues that get in the way. We've got 3 broad areas of focus: self-directed support, or more recently, we talk about resetting self-directed support, care markets and commissioning, or again, more recently, we talk about redesigning commissioning. And finally, supporting strong and empowered communities, all key ingredients needed to reshape the care we want to see. And we've developed a number of resources and frameworks to support progress in this area. In particular, with Social Care Institute for Excellence and Shared Lives Plus, we've established the Social Care Innovation Network, and that's a network which is working with local areas, and some of you will be involved in this, to develop innovative approaches to social care. And just in terms of the Social Care Innovation Network, we've just finished phase 2. There are lots of really helpful products on the Sky website and on the TLAP website. And I know there is a huge appetite now to move into phase 3, and our fingers are tightly crossed that we will receive funding for phase 3. So, like all of you, we've been totally immersed in responding to COVID-19. We've been working with many partners to understand the impact of the pandemic on people with lived experience. And the truth is, to a very great extent, it hasn't taught us anything we didn't already know. What it has done is brutally expose the fault lines that were already there. But the pandemic has also amplified what is great about those approaches to social care that are rooted in personalisation, in co-production, in community, in innovation. And we've seen those models respond with great agility and flexibility to this pandemic. Excuse me. So TLAP's key message, which has always been about the need for much greater investment in those models, doesn't change. But the push for change has definitely become a shove. So market shaping. So market shaping, along with its first cousin market position statements, is a bit of jargon that my chair, Clinton Farquharson, who many of you will know, says puts his teeth on edge. And it is jargon, isn't it, that carries with it overtones of pounds, shilling, pence, consumers, commodities. And we think we need to focus instead on investing in people and communities. That should be the starting point. And this pandemic, I think we would all agree, has made visible the power of communities and individuals, and has demonstrated, sometimes breathtakingly, just what can be achieved when all the different moving parts of a community come together with common purpose. The various local mutual aid arrangements have illustrated this. And we've also seen some incredible examples of local authorities who have been incredibly bold in their response to ensure people remained connected, even in lockdown or shielding, and continue to receive the support they need. So in terms of improvement or transformation, I think it's a truth universally acknowledged that none of us wish to return to business as usual. So this would suggest that we need to go beyond thinking about improvement. COVID has transformed our landscape, and we have been bold in our response to it. We have seen incredible transformation. And if we're going to build the reform we've talked about for so long to create the care we want, we need to continue to be bold. Improvement isn't going to hit the spot. This is time to transform. Can I have the next slide, please? Next slide. Hello? Thank you. So apparently a quote can say 1,000 words, and this is absolutely one of my favourites. I genuinely believe that boldness is genius. I think Goethe got that completely right. And I'm delighted now to hand you over to Kate Sibthorp, who's going to say much more about we need to be bold if we are to create the social care we all want to see. Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline. Can we have the next slide, please? So, hi everybody, my name's Kate Sibthorp. I'm a member of the National Co-Production Advisory Group, and we're a group of people with lived experience who work closely with TLAP. And we really appreciate ADASS making sure that your conference hears from people who access your services. So some of you will already be familiar with this vision of the future of social care. It seems so ordinary, so straightforward. Who wouldn't want this future? And so for me, the question is, why is it so hard for so many of us to attain? It's a perfect summary of the future that I want for my daughter. I want a safe, secure, happy home, living with people who love her, connected to people in her community and doing the things that she enjoys. So when we talk about shaping the social care market, for me, this vision sums up what I think we should be working towards. Next slide, please. So this is my daughter, Maddie. She's 29. She lives at home with me and her dad and needs support 24/7 because she has learning disabilities and autism. And I use direct payments to employ PAs who share Maddie's support with us, her parents. Now, the burning question for you, which is how do you shape the adult social care market, is for me my biggest nightmare. It's the thing that keeps me awake at night. Maddie lives with us because there's no viable alternative where we live. I can't achieve that social care future vision for her unless things change radically. So I have 3 questions for you guys about the social care market of the future. So firstly, I don't want to care for Maddie. I don't want people to see her as a duty in a job description or as an object of kindness. So how can you enable people who work in social care to care about people? It's a small difference, 5 letters instead of 3, but if people care about Maddie, then I believe they will naturally care for her in a way that makes sense to her. So how can care and support workers be more human, more person-centred and more connected? My second question is about how we commission social care. Where I live, I've seen the council produce pen pictures of people needing support. The pen pictures aren't written by or with the people concerned. They describe people in terms of the hours of support they need and the level of difficulty they present. So they say things like, this person's aggressive, this person tells lies, this person is doubly incontinent. The pen pictures are circulated to providers who effectively bid for the job of supporting them. And to me, that's like a meat market. The details of one warm, friendly and very capable woman went to nearly 40 providers, and she was rejected because of the way the council had described her. Imagine if that was you. So for me, this approach is completely the wrong way round. So when I want some Maddie, I want to interview several providers and many, many individual workers so that I can choose who's going to support her. So the question is, how can we commission in a way that's more human, more person-centred and more connected? My third question, do you remember the film Field of Dreams? There's a man who dreams that if he builds a baseball field, the great baseball players of the past will come and play there. And the famous line from the film is, if you build it, he will come. Well, it seems to me that that's how we've been treating housing for people in adult social care. We've built residential care homes for elderly people and people with disabilities. We've created shared housing arrangements, and we've commissioned, in social care jargon, beds for respite. And now we expect people to come and live in them. And social workers talk in terms of places that they need to slot people into. Do I want that for my daughter? No way. So that's why she's still living at home, and why your burning question about the future of the social care market is my personal nightmare. So how do we create housing that's more human, more person-centred, more connected? Next slide, please. So the I and we statements on this slide are taken from Making It Real, which was produced by TLAP and NCAG together. It's a collection of over 80 statements that describe good person-centred care and support from the perspectives of both the people who access health, social care and housing services and the people who work in those sectors. It's a very robust tool because it's been co-produced with people who access services, and it can be used in many ways to help organisations continually improve what they do. So I really wish we had time to tell you more about it, but I do invite you to look it up on the TLAP website, and details are on the final slide. So the picture is something that I drew as a way of sharing what I want for my daughter Maddie. So most of it is happening already because I use her direct payments to make it happen. But what will be critical to her in the future social care market is her housing and her care and support. So my dream housing for her is a cooperative. I want a collection of households of all different shapes and sizes, single people, couples, families, older people, younger people, people from different ethnic and sexuality backgrounds. So I guess I'm looking for one big, eclectic, happy family. But what will bring those people together will be their desire to live cooperatively, to share some aspects of their lives, and to be welcoming and inclusive to each other. Now, I can't achieve that on my own. I need the help from my council. Yet, although she's nearly 30, and the time's coming when her dad and I will no longer be able to support her, no one's asked us what we want. I think that they're assuming Maddie will just slot into one of those field of nightmare places that I talked about. If I can't have my dream, then there's one thing that is really bothering me about the current social care market, and that's the insidious connection between housing tenure and care provider. So as a parent, I have to enable Maddie to live somewhere that she can't be moved from, with absolute choice over who she lives with, if anyone, and who supports her. And I'm hearing too many stories about people being unable to change their care provider because it's part of a package with their housing. So many people who are unhappy with the quality of support they're getting and are powerless to change it. Next slide, please. So if anyone is here from Shropshire, I'm sure there is, you might recognise this slide. So I've been lucky to visit Shropshire a few times with colleagues from TLAP and the National Co-Production Advisory Group, and they've been doing some really great work on the future they want for people who access their services. So much so I keep telling them that I want to move there. So to me, their leadership team is ambitious about transformation, and the people who live there have been growing their trust of the council, and they've been willing to work with them to see what kind of future they can create together. So one of the key things underpinning their approach is co-production. And I am talking, of course, about the people who access services, but there are other people who also understand and recognise the need for services to be transformed and who need to be involved. So think about people who work face-to-face with citizens, and some less predictable people like finance and audit staff and local councillors. So for me, this is about far more than social care. It's about housing, health, leisure, community connections. It's about people's well-being through being cared about, not cared for. So you can't shape a market to meet my needs if you don't talk to me to find out what I want. The same goes for everyone who accesses services. So please think about how you can co-produce the transformation of the adult social care market in its widest sense. I'd love you to hold that social care future vision in your hearts and figure out how we can all be more human, more person-centred, more connected. Final slide. So this is information about how you can get in touch with TLAP and NCAG, and thank you all very much for listening.